Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do the final DIY Dollar Tree Farmhouse wreath heart thing with this set of wreath Dollar Tree things. And we're going to use some of the wire edge burlap ribbon. We're actually going to use 2 spools. And then we're going to use 1 spool of this lace ribbon from the Dollar Tree as well. It's sort of crocheted. I kind of talked to you guys about it before. Glue gun and as well as the scissor. This is the final one. We're just going to, if you're just joining us for the first time, this is the set of 3 hearts from the Dollar Tree that came out this season. We're going to find the very end. Usually it's at the bottom point of the existing garland, and we're going to weave it off back and forth. We've done this so far with the other 2 hearts in the set, and this is the final neutral Valentine's Day decor heart that we have left over for this, okay? And I've mentioned it before, but if you're new around here, we like to save the garland because you never know when you want it for another project. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take my X-Acto knife, craft blade, and scissor combination. I'm going to cut off all of the little fingers. I've always called them fingers in the past. We're just going to cut off all those little fingers, and we're going to use the knife for the inside, and they cut really, really easy. The outside's cut with the scissor really easy, and the inside's cut with the box cutter very, very easily as well. Okay, and we're going to do this because we're going to wrap the entire thing in burlap. But first, we're going to make a special trim. You guys will see, you're going to love it. So what I wanted to do for a while is to teach you guys how to make this lace trim. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to take the wire edged burlap ribbon, and this is the entire 9 feet. You don't have to do the entire 9 feet for this particular wreath, but I was just going to make the entire 9 feet of ribbon first, and then use the rest of it for other projects. But what I'm doing is I am taking out the wire from one side basically. And how you do that is you just push the fabric back a little bit to expose the tip of the wire. I like to wrap it around my scissor because I don't really have good finger grip and I don't have any nails, and this way it helps me hold on to it. And then just slide the ribbon along the way. Now, since this is 9 feet long, doing it by yourself takes a little bit of time. You guys have seen in other videos where I've had Jim help me, and if he stands 9 feet away and holds on to the ribbon, this wire slides right out. But I thought I would share with you this time how we can do it by ourselves if absolutely necessary. Okay, so what you do is you just want to move the ribbon across the wire and pull, and as we get out a good 2 feet of wire, we're going to go ahead and retwist around the scissor. We'll basically move it down the wire and continue to pull and slide down and pull and slide down. Like I said, it is a little bit of a process, but nothing you can't do by yourself. Okay, so then the next thing we want to do is we want to take the lace, and I'll show you up close. We're just going to run a bead of glue right along the edge of the thread that was holding the wire, and we're just going to put the very, very edge of the lace on there. You want to, there's sort of like a very edge, then there's all of these holes. If you look through the holes, you'll see the very edge of the lace, of the ribbon, excuse me. And you're just going to repeat this the entire length, and it's 9 feet of ribbon, 9 feet of lace ribbon, and 9 feet of burlap ribbon, so it should come almost exactly the same. Of course, they're not always exact in the factories. This is actually, there's actually about 2 or 3 inches more of the lace than there was of the burlap. Okay, and you're just going to repeat this the whole way. Now you want to be careful. As you can see, I'm mostly laying the lace down on the burlap, and then this is actually 4 times speed, so I'm actually waiting, maybe count to 3 before you put your fingers onto it, before so you don't hurt yourself. So the glue will come through there. Now, one thing that I didn't do, and I'll tell you now because I I obviously didn't do it, is I didn't double check this once I was done gluing everything. Because every once in a while, the glue can cool before you get the lace onto it. Or it does, not quite as much will come out of the glue gun as you anticipated. And then by the time you get the lace on it, it could have cooled off already. So after we're done lacing the whole thing, I recommend you go back and double check that you have no loose lace. All right. But like I said, I accidentally forgot that part, and you'll see me correct it later. But we're just going to continue. It's easier just to make sure that you, no, it's easy to get it twisted up. So just make sure that you keep it laying as flat as possible. And it's also easy for the lace to want to curve up the burlap. So you make sure you just do small sections at a time. That really keeps that from happening a little bit better. Now I wish on the thumbnail you guys could see how cute this was, but up against my white door you almost really can't see the lace. I want to, probably not gonna hang it there permanently, but for right now that's the only place that I have that I could take a picture of it. But it's just really cute. The lace just is really, really cute. It just adds a little bit of extra something. Okay. Now, when it comes to wrapping the heart, I did consider using the lace, the burlap ribbon that they sell at the Dollar Tree with the lace already on the middle. But these laces don't really coordinate very well. This one is a little bit more ivory. The other one's a little bit more white. But plus, the way we're going to wrap the ribbon around the heart is just too little to handle that big wide ribbon. So you're going to see what we're going to end up doing is we're going to end up cutting it down. So now for the very ends, we want to fold the very ends over. Just the one end that we're going to start, basically the opposite end of where we're going to start. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to make a ruffle. And how we're going to make a ruffle is you fold over the other end of where you want to start, and we're going to glue it down, the fold over. And then we're going to do the same thing where we're going to expose the wire and we're going to pull the wire. And we're going to feed the ribbon down the length of the wire, being very careful not to break the wire. But what this is going to do is going to naturally cause the ruffle. Because the wire is not going to be able to come through the other end because we've trapped it by folding it up. It's just going to continue to create a ruffle. Now you don't want I didn't want my ruffle to be too overly exaggerated. So this ended up being about, I guess, probably 5 feet. It wasn't quite double. It wasn't quite, half of its original length. But I did like that particular way that ruffle looked. Okay. Now, once you've done this ruffled ribbon, you can do it for a myriad of applications. You can glue it around really anywhere. The tops of vases would be pretty, around floral arrangements, around buckets, any of those things, any place you could think of that you might want to put a cute little burlap ruffle. You go right ahead and use this same technique to make some ruffled burlap with lace on the edge. All right, but what we're going to do with it is we're going to put it around that heart as you saw in the sample. All right. So once I'm getting to just about the point where I like it, I want to go ahead and I want to fold over the end that I was pulling from and make sure I cut the wire after I fold it over so it doesn't get pulled back in. And then I'm going to glue the edge down back onto itself to create the perfect ending. All right, and then I want to make sure I evenly distribute my ruffle around the wire. So some areas might be more bunched up. I want to go ahead and I fix that up. Now we're going to move on to the wreath. This is another roll of burlap. We're not going to use the whole thing, and I like to work in sections. This is probably a 2-3 foot section that I've cut off, and I'm going to pull the wires out of one side. Actually, I'm not pulling the wires out of one side. I'm pulling wires out of both sides, but one side at a time. That's what I was going to say. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take this ribbon, and I'm just eyeballing it, but I'm cutting it down the middle. The reason I'm doing that is because the because the heart is so small, we wanted the ribbon to be more narrow so it could take the curves better. And I'm showing you here that there's actually two options. You can actually make it so that the sewn edge is what you see is overlapped over the raw edge, or what I'm going to end up doing is overlapping the raw edge over the sewn edge. And that's just totally an option of the look that you're going for. I wanted to make this look like it was entirely covered in burlap, so I didn't want the edge, the sewn edge, to show up. And I will tell you a piece of advice: don't cut both edges, because this ribbon does fray once you have them cut. So I found that the first one I did is I cut off both edges. I cut off the little sewn edge as well as the other edge, and it just came apart on me. So I don't recommend doing that if at all possible. And we've wrapped lots of hearts with ribbon before, so this is a very, very similar technique. We're just going to start on one side and we're just going to wrap it around. And this is why I like to work with the smaller sections. Because that edge is cut, as it comes through the middle, it tends to fray. And if this was a piece that was twice as long or 3 times as long, you would see that it would be more frayed as it comes through. So we're trying to limit that by making the small sections that we did. All right. And now anytime you get to a curve that might have like a little puckering, what I did was I tucked the puckering down first around the back, and then I covered it with the piece that was going over it. That's just an option. You can always go back at the end and glue down the puckers, which I'll show you that as well, as a technique to fix. All right, but right around those hard curves, those top bows, there will be some puckering, so you want to go ahead and make sure that you tuck that down first or after. All right. And now to attach the two pieces, I just went ahead and I made sure that the sewed edge was along the same size as sewed edge. What I did was, once I started going over the other side, I turned the ribbon around. And the reason I did that is if I would have continued to go in the same direction, or just continued going the way I was going, it would have started exposing the sewed edge would have started overlapping. So we wanted to turn the ribbon around so that as we overlapped, we continue to overlap with the raw edge. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I think you can see it here pretty well. And then just glue any extra piece as you need. I ended up making another piece and using it as well to continue on. Okay. So you can kind of see here what I'm talking about a little bit better. So as I get around the curve, I'm actually taking my finger and I'm tucking whatever excess fabric is around the back. And I'm making sure that I cover it with the edge of the ribbon as I come over it. All right, and once we get to the bottom, we're going to kind of do the same thing, except you'll see that the way we were going to end up with a sewed edge. So what I've done is I've cut the ribbon off. I've basically wrapped it around to see how much I would need, cut the ribbon off, and then I'm trimming that sewed edge right off of that last piece that we're going to overlap, because I didn't want any of the sewed edges to show, if that makes any sense. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. And you can see here I was very successful. So it looks like it's just completely raw edged burlap. All right. And then once you have that dried, you glue, the glue is cooled off, then you go ahead and you can trim it up. And now you could trim up whatever like little stray threads there are. And then we're going to also turn around and glue any of those little tucks down that we need to. Okay, so you see here, there's a few points on the way back on the second bow that we did. That you can just reach around the back and just glue them back down, and that's fine. We're going to cover it with the lace anyway. I mean with the ruffle, excuse me. But we just want it to be nice and neat, and that's just an option of showing you how you can make it nice and neat. All right. And now we're going to attach the ruffle, and the ruffle part I wanted to start at the very bottom, peak. The reason I wanted to do that, and I wanted to add almost like a little excess, so I wanted to kind of hide to when we're going to overlap the ribbon, I wanted to sort of make it disappear a little bit. So what I'm doing on the back side is I'm just gluing along the very, very edge of the heart, and then I'm sticking down the ruffle as is. I'm trying not to stretch it. I'm trying to just lay it as it naturally wants to lay around that curve. Ruffles, once you have them, as you saw, once it was ruffled up, it wants to do like a snake skin spiral anyway. So you just have to kind of push it straight on its long end, on the heart's long ends, but it still will take on that nice ruffle for you. Okay. Now the only extra piece of advice that I'm going to give is once you get to the center bow, the center peak on the inside of the bows. The bows are what I always call the tops of the hearts, like kind of like the bows of your lips. So when you get to the very center point, what you want to do is you want to put your glue down there and you want to let it set before you turn the corner. You want to really, really let it cool off before you turn the corner. And then just turn the corner and continue. And then you can see here, once you get to the end, you just want to overlap where you had glued. And then what I'm doing is I'm making sure that I'm sealing off the ruffle so the wire doesn't sneak back up into the ruffle that I have left over, like my leftovers basically, before I cut it off. Kind of like when you tuck the edge of your tape under, that's what you want to do to the edge of your ruffle. And now here is where I noticed that I didn't double check to make sure that I was glued. All of my lace was glued down to all of my burlap. So I'm just going to go ahead and fix that the best that I can after it's already done, which of course is a lot harder to do than if I would have fixed it in the beginning. But I like to leave the mistakes on there if I make them for you guys to see how to repair them, okay, because you might run into the same problem as well. All right. And now that that's all done, you just fluff it all up and fix it the way you want it, ruffle it, zhuzh it, as we like to say. That's what we like to say, zhuzh it. And then we're just going to put a little hanger on there. We're going to make one of our little loops. And actually, we're going to make two of our little loops because I wanted to make this so that I can hang it straight on or at an angle. So I've put one of the loops right in the very center. Made sure the knot was hidden. The top of the loop is buried under the top of the ruffle. And then I think I'm going to make one off to the side so that we can hang it sideways if we ever wish to, just to add a little cuteness to this project as well. And then that, as they say, is that. But what I wanted to show you here is this is that welcome sign from the Dollar Tree. And if you did feel like you wanted to add some color to the center of the heart, you could always glue one of them behind there. You could also put a picture and make it a picture frame. So that's it, everybody. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And if you have any questions at all, please leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to share with friends and family. And anybody you know might be interested in seeing how we did this or any of the projects here for Valentine's Day. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe. And when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, you take care. God bless. And we'll see you next time. Bye.